February 15th, 2025. It was just before midnight and my girlfriend Noelle was sleeping soundly next to me, but I couldn't say the same for myself. We've all been there before. The body desires sleep, but the brain just won't shut up. Odd creatures appeared in my mind's eye. I didn't know what they were, but suddenly, a gang of demonic Smurfs burst into my room and offered me the deal of a lifetime.
We could give you the power to get millions of views if you make comics.
Yeah, make comics.
Make them comics. Our master, Daddy Zuck, will even pay you for your work.
We are live from my backyard. I am smoking a brisket and some ribs. I'm making meats now. Smoking these
hey,
meats
Mark,
here.
I'll take it over from here. Anyway, all you have to do is give us your soul!
Okay, sure, why not? I'm desperate. And that's how my first comic got 2 million views across Instagram and TikTok. The end. Okay, that's not really how it happened, but it might as well have been. I was having a hard time falling asleep that night when I was struck with a comic idea for the first time. I immediately got up and drew up a rough draft for the entire thing. When I was done, of course, my phone-addicted brain had to check Instagram one more time, and I got a notification that I was not expecting. Instagram was giving me a chance to get a bonus, or payment, for posting specifically pictures, right after I drew up my first comic ever. Within 2 days, I released an eye for a nose, and I owe it all to a Smurf. No, not that one. This one. Celebrating 5 years of sobriety? Today I'm going to talk about how the comic Junky Smurf Redemption by Nowhere Lad and the Gamer Comics inspired me to make my first comic successful through 2 major literary devices. I'll go into detail about why I think these devices work so well in the internet comic space, and break down how I tried to incorporate them in my own work. I'll also be dissecting other choices I made in my comic that created a compelling story. Whether you want to start making comics, or just need some background noise, grab a snack and get comfortable, because we're about to get started. My experience with comics. My personal experience with internet comics as a medium is pretty limited, and I do recognize that. I haven't read stuff like Homestuck. I didn't even know about Webtoon until my girlfriend showed me Lore Olympus. And in the case of physical comics, the list is bare, with some notable reads being Calvin and Hobbes and random Pokemon comics when I was really young, the Scott Pilgrim series, and a few volumes of Saga in high school as well. I've read some manga like Chainsaw Man, but in my world where my interests cast a huge net, I don't always strive to do a deep dive with a specific interest. Well, besides Pokemon. I'm usually more of a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none type. But this is a story of me just dipping my toes into the sea of making comics, and hopefully I can keep reading and writing more because it's a lot of fun. But what about that Smurf from earlier? No, this comic did not come from Webtoon. It wasn't published as a graphic novel. It looks like it was half made on MS Paint, and it totally was. I wasn't inspired to create my own comic from any of the super refined or more incredibly mainstream series. No, I was inspired by the aggressively ironic, the shitposting, the Gen Z coded video game / cartoon parody comics. Doesn't this effect look sick as hell? I just did this so I could practice making a fire effect. Anyway, Instagram is the way I predominantly consume these works, and though some may seem like a far cry from what a quote-unquote good comic should be, their crude and gross sense of humor can be so shocking and weird, but can strangely have writing that will legitimately make you cry. And yes, a comic about a Smurf made me cry. So let's take a quick look at the spark that lit my path to making comics. This is Junky Smurf Redemption. This piece is split up into 2 parts, where the first half was illustrated by Nowhere Lad, and the second half by the Gamer Comics. We start with a rough around the edges Smurf, cigarette in hand, holes in his clothes, in need of some money for, presumably, some medication. With his begging met with aggression by his fellow Smurfs, Junky Smurf sulks back home as the internal struggles begin. He contemplates the predeterministic culture of the Smurfs, being that they are named after what they are destined to become, just like his parents were. He might be Smurf for life, but desires to be more than just a junkie. The Gamer Comics then picks up the story where we see a weirdly more realistic Smurf, or a person, shaking and sweating, battling severe withdrawals. An intensely dark and sobering contrast to the more cartoony style of Nowhere Lad. I see it as Junky Smurf waking up to what the world actually looks like. Presumably after multiple days of isolation, the one and only Papa Smurf appears to support Junky battling for his life. After some time, we now see a wheelchair-bound Papa Smurf appearing at the door of a building. It's Junky's soberversary. 5 years to the day, and we find that the name Junky has taken on a new definition. Papa Smurf, tears in his eyes, and myself included, compliments him on reinventing his life as a well-respected junkyard owner. Junky is modest and believes that he's simply just paying it forward to Smurf society when he's offered to take the role of Papa Smurf himself. Sometimes, you just need one positive influence. My god, if this isn't peak cinema to you, then I don't know, I guess we just like different things. But if you can see the genius in this comic, let's dive even deeper. While there are a million different things I could analyze about this comic, like the flow of the panels or the perspective of the scenes, this is really a subjective view of what stuck out to me as the most important features that inspired me to get started. Those being these two key points: parody and post-irony, otherwise known as PP. Let's start with parody. Key point: parody. I'm sure I don't have to describe what parody is to everyone, but for the sake of this video, parody is the use of a pre-existing work where changes are made to provide a comedic, critical, or satirical effect to the original piece. It's obvious, but yeah, this whole comic is a parody on the Smurfs, where Nowhere Lad and the Gamer Comics use this IP as a base to tell their own weird, heart-wrenching story. I really think that the use of the Smurfs in this story about overcoming drug addiction makes the whole comic even more compelling, because it grabs the reader's attention. The first thing that instantly drew my attention and made me stop endlessly scrolling was, of course, the first panel. It broke my expectations. Smurfs are immediately recognizable characters to most people, which carry a preconceived expectation for how they're supposed to act. Nowhere Lad's depiction of a Smurf is like, well, it's like one you would find in an alley behind a convenience store, and I want to know what his deal is. Or, maybe I don't. Whatever his deal is, I wanted to do something similar. Since I was already utilizing parodies for months with animations featuring Pokemon and Smiling Friends characters that did garner some success, I wondered if my animated parodies could translate just as well as pictures and panels. It feels harder to make something interesting enough to grab someone's attention in the squirrel-brained era that we live in, and as someone trying to build a career around art that I create, I want to grab people's attention. Hey, look at my thing! Hey, look at it! But if anything, it would at least be fun to write a story in a different format while still captivating the audience I accumulated so far, and many more people by continuing to use parody. I'm not saying you shouldn't go and create your own OCs and put them in a world all your own, because there are other artists in this niche that do that, but using parody as a foundation for storytelling feels like a great way to start making comics. Learning from Nowhere Lad, the Gamer Comics, and my piece that I'll talk about later shows that you really can have some legitimate success writing your own stories around characters that people know. But it's not just enough to use recognizable characters. What I was most interested in understanding is the contrast between the art style and the message of the story. Key point, post-irony. When I first read Junky Smurf Redemption, I almost thought it was all a joke. Upon first glance of the comic, Nowhere Lad illustrates a cartoony and vulgar interpretation of the Smurfs that made me think, okay, this is gonna be a comedy. But although we come to realize this is a story about overcoming drug addiction, not comedy, maybe. The Gamer Comics work in MS Paint with jagged pixel art lines, and portions that the fill tool doesn't fully capture feel very flippant and internet-coded, maybe trying to throw off how I'm supposed to feel about it. And that's why I love it so much. I go from, haha, funny-looking Smurf to, oh god, these blue men are having the most emotional moment of their lives. And I'm crying too. You might think that playful art styles and a serious story shouldn't work well together, but they do, which culminates into this post-ironic Gen Z style humor. Even if that wasn't the intention of the artist, it comes off that way to me. Post-irony can basically be summed up by making the reader question whether something is meant to be sincere or ironic, like a muddling of the two. Post-irony is inherently confusing, so I want to further illustrate why I believe this is the literary device being used, so let's make a chart. In this chart, we'll have 3 different levels. Level 0 will be sincerity, level 1, irony, and then level 2, post-irony. For sincerity, we have the Smurfs, an innocent children's cartoon with moral lessons about community and teamwork. In my head, I think about the series from when my dad was a kid. Level 1, we have irony. Smurfs are depicted in exaggerated ways, doing drugs, and are ostracizing Junky Smurf from the community. It's funny because it's the opposite of what a Smurf would do, but it's just irony, it's boring. Let's add another layer to make it more confusing. Level 2, post-irony. Under all of the irony, there's actually a moral lesson about having positive influences and accepting help from your community. So the message circles back to being sincere again. Junky Smurf takes us through that first layer of irony with a distorted view of the Smurfs, only to bring us back again to a positive message, just like the original Smurfs gave us. JREG helped me to understand this concept further, so definitely go watch his video on layers of irony if you're interested. I'll have it linked below. But with this literary device, I don't think the artists are saying, ooh, I'm gonna go make a post-ironic comic now. I think it's more of just a byproduct of their styles. But that's just my take on it all. Let's hear a little bit from the artist's perspective when I asked them about their work.
A talk with the artists.
In an email with NoRLad, he wrote, I'm not really sure how to describe my art other than high-effort shitposting. I used to try to make dank shock content memes, but I've transitioned into what I'm doing now, which is more higher quality with more meaningful context. But I do still mainly aim to make people laugh with it. I think NoRLad states it plainly here. With their style originally coming from making memes, a desire to make something more meaningful while still having a comedic edge gives birth to that style of parody and post-irony that a lot of people raised on the internet can relate to. His number of followers on Instagram also says it all. People love his stuff. For another example of his work, I can laugh at the absurdity of a cigarette-smoking fish from SpongeBob delivering DoorDash, but still shed a tear when he's just trying to work hard to support his family. It's hilariously innocuous. It's also interesting to see the other side when it comes to the gamer comics when I ask them about their story writing, because it feels even more sincere. With the stories, it's kind of writing what I know, which isn't good advice for sci-fi or fantasy, but I worked in a lot of odd jobs. Seeing boiler rooms, giant machinery, lots of back rooms in hospitals and schools, morgues, and different businesses. So meeting all of these different coworkers from all walks of life, I feel like it really lets me internalize it and think about it all day. I think when I hear the gamer comic side of things, I realize now that this comic in particular wasn't meant to be a joke from their point of view, but I'm sure there are also many people who took it as just a sincere piece. This is the other side that NoRLad was talking about as well. There's real meaning behind all of the funny art, and we've returned back to sincerity from irony. The gamer comics also told me a bit about how they draw their characters using a single stock actor catalog for rough drafts of the art, then tracing over it to get the form. I think this method of art does have some inherently comedic qualities to it, and maybe that, paired with their super emotional writing, has the unintended quality of post-irony. As confusing as this all might seem, I knew I wanted to do something similar with my piece. I wanted to mix some strange art with an emotional redemption story, all held together on the foundation of parody. And I tried to do just that in my comic, An Eye for a Nose. Hey guys, so before I dissect my comic, I want to talk about something really special. Mfish recently gave me an affiliate link, and they were then generous enough to send me a box of their product, and it's huge, but I'm gonna unbox it and we're gonna look at a few of their products. Look at this thing. Like, oh my god. I need to get some scissors, one sec. There's so much stuff in here. Oh my god. We got charging lines, we got power banks, we got power ports, we got a power station here, and then there's something in the back here. I don't even know what that is yet. We're gonna have to open it. We have an entire kit here. We got the super mushroom, portable power bank. Oh my gosh, and there's two of them. Out of all the products that Mfish sent me, the one I want to talk about the most is the 65 watt eRhino charger that I have right here. Let's go take a closer look at it. The eRhino is a 65 watt fast charging power port with retractable Type-C cable, 2 additional ports, and a real-time display. That means you can charge up to 3 devices at once quickly and safely. The Type-C cable is also extremely durable and doesn't tangle either. There are USB-C and A ports for charging anything from phones to headphones, and all around the charger has a really sleek and metallic design. The Rhino is also tested for heat, drops, and power surges, so it's made to last. I personally will be using the charger for my phone and Apple Watch, and you can get free shipping with orders over $35 and a 1-year warranty. Thank you so much to Mfish for sending me all of this awesome stuff. And guys, if you want to get a charging line or any of the power banks, use my affiliate link listed in the description below and you can get 10% off. Just make sure you use code It'sMachoMouse. And let's get back to the video. Dissecting my first comic. In case you're unfamiliar, most of the work I do revolves around Pokemon parodies nowadays, and this comic is based in that universe. The main idea for the comic was actually derived from a video I did where I played off of that Hope Course style with Sableye saying, "You're single? I'm single. You know what that means?" Do you? Viewer, do you know what that means? It means he eats nose past his nose, obviously, come on. This was just some nonsense adding to the joke of the Hope Course style I was seeing a lot, but It's strangely an idea that I could expand upon. Just like Junky Smurf, I really liked the idea of a redemption arc, and this nose-eating Sableye would fit that role perfectly. So let's explore and dissect my comic itself. We first see two Sableye sitting around a wine-cluttered table in Granite Cave. For me, adding adult themes like the addition of alcohol or smoking like I did in this other comic is definitely something I get from Nowhere Lad's work, where virtually every character is smoking cigarettes, and it really makes their lives feel a bit more tragic and usually hits on that first layer of irony. It's also just something unexpected for these characters to do, which drew me to Junky Smurf originally. I had one Sableye facing away from the camera like he's hiding a secret, and we see the next slide that the Roselia red is helping that truth come out. We then flash back to his crimes in silhouette. As the guilt overtakes him, the reader is urged to move on to the next page with some red text that signifies a potential danger ahead. What they find is a grotesque-looking trainer stealing the same fit as the protagonist from Pokemon Emerald. Here, my aim was to simply poke fun at what maybe an incel-type trainer would look like, and to shock the reader with some beautiful facial features, a perfectly toned body, and elegant hands. Not to mention some eloquent speech as well. I'm sorry. Everyone, please just pray for this Curlia. Discount Brandon throws a Pokeball to catch Sableye, but a familiar appears to block the ball. The climax of the story then depicts a noseless nose pass, or a pass, driving our sloppy villain out of the cave. With the joke of the comic out of the way, it's time to make everyone feel. I really wanted to make this part as emotional as possible, so I had our wine-drunken Sableye start bawling his gems out, asking why, and Nosepass's response is like a knife through the heart. This is where I attempt to break through that first layer of irony and bring us back to a sincere message. He says, because that's just what Pokemon do for each other. After all of the pain that Sableye caused, this doesn't deter Nosepass from stepping in and defending him. I chose to write this because in Pokemon, a major lesson that's ubiquitous across the series is the importance of friendship and teamwork. For the Pokemon in Granite Cave, they need to cooperate with each other in order to maintain peace and keep each other safe from unworthy trainers. Moving on, I chose to show the entrance of Granite Cave next to say that I don't know what and for how long, but something's been happening with Sableye after the trainer failed to catch him. I really liked how the Gamer Comics didn't initially state the amount of time that passed for Junky's redemption, because I think it urges the viewer to wonder what the conclusion is after an unclear amount of time. Reaching the end of the story, we see that Sableye returns to a solitary Nosepass with something odd on his back. We now learn that after months of finding gems and even using his own eye gem, an eye for a nose, Sableye reaches redemption by apologizing for his transgressions and presenting a brilliantly shiny replacement nose for Nosepass. The final scene depicts them both in an emotional embrace, just like Junky Smurf, with a new nose glistening in the dark, and one final zinger for the Pokemon fans out there, with Nosepass saying, "It's astonishing," just like one of Sableye's attacks. Final thoughts. So that's my thought process and analysis behind my comic. I still credit Mr. Junky Smurf for the spark of inspiration on this. This whole video also took me months to figure out exactly how I wanted to describe this style from Junky Smurf that I love so much, because I'm not an expert in this stuff. This was again my first attempt at making a comic trying to mimic the styles of the greats, and here I am just trying to rationalize all of it after the fact. I was even pretty nervous to define a big part of what they did here as post-irony. A part of me is tempted to say that this is all just a wholesome story with some comedic components, but after I plugged in Junky Smurf and my own comics elements to the table that JREG originally made, I felt like it made sense that this could be a post-ironic parody comic. I wasn't even fully aware of what post-irony entailed until making this video, just like I don't think Nowhere Lad and the Gamer Comics specifically set out to make a post-ironic comic. They make meaningful and hilarious stuff, and this was just me trying to emulate that. If it's not already clear, I don't think you necessarily need a lot of background knowledge to make something that's worth people's attention. I mean, there's plenty of completely self-taught artists out there that don't know the terms for every technique, me, and just rely on what makes sense to them naturally. But I do think there's a lot of value in trying to figure out why certain things work well together. I love Pokemon, so I use Parody to make more stories in that universe. And I think it's fun to mash up comedy and genuine emotion, so now I know that I can use post-irony as a literary device. I think if you make any art at all, you should strive to figure out why you like certain genres over other ones, and make an effort to understand how things work to grow as an artist, just like I'm trying to do now with comics. I really hope that you liked watching what I like to call my second big video ever, and definitely leave a comment down below about anything in the video. I would love to hear it. If you learned something, that's awesome. If you want to talk about anything, I'm here to talk about it, really. Definitely like the video, subscribe, and guys, there's a new hype mechanic too. So on mobile, I'm pretty sure if you like the video, it should like move across the screen and there'll be this like little hype button. If you hit it, like that would be amazing. That would help out the video so much. If you want to see what I like to call my first big video ever, it's the first one on my channel, How Hard Is It to Become a Sprite Artist for Pokemon Infinite Fusion? That was a really good one too. And if you want to read Junky Smurf or my comic or all of the other stuff that I listed during the video, it's all in the description below. Please, if you can, like, use my affiliate link. That would be incredible. I'm still really happy that Mfish was able to send me all that stuff. It's amazing. But yeah, the next thing I'm probably going to make is circling back to when I climbed Celeste Mountain on a stair climber. I'll make a video about that, and we'll see what happens. Thank you so much to the members of the channel. Guys, if you want to be a member too, that would also support me so much. And I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye. All right, bye. All right, bye, guys. See ya. Have a good day or night or afternoon. All right, that's the end. Goodbye.